This is the Everyday Hustle Show, where our number one priority is self-development.
Each week, we will dive into insightful topics that encourage you to push your thinking beyond average.
Smash that subscribe button and tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m.
All right, welcome everyone to another edition of the Everyday Hustle Show. My name is Christian. We got Drew over here.
Happy Sunday evening, Monday morning, Tuesday afternoon, whenever you're listening. We love you.
We love you. And tonight we have another special guest. This is Gabriel here. And just to give like a very brief background as to how I know Gabriel. So bear with me. I'm going to try to get this right. Gabriel is my fiance's sister-in-law's sister's boyfriend. Is that correct, Gabriel?
That's impressive. You got that. That was a snake of a line. That was good.
Well, I've been practicing. I actually had help from Kelly too. So I was like, wait, so I got to make sure I get this right. But yeah, so we were talking, we've talked at a couple functions like we were, talking about earlier before the show. And it wasn't until this past Christmas that we, finally, got to talking about business. And, you mentioned that a book that you had read, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And that kind of like, lit off the alarm for me. I'm like, oh shit,
I feel like only people who know like about this whole scene and like about that book, like
what's
what the deal is.
Yeah, exactly. So then we were talking, and then I was like, oh man, after I kind of got more information, I was like, we have to have him on the show. And so I'm gonna go over just some very a little bit of a bio on Gabriel. So just bear with me here. And
I want to just chime in real super quick for everyone out there who's listening. When we started the show, Jesse had the idea of calling it the Average Joes, mm-hmm. right? And he doesn't remember it, but I do, right? And this is the perfect example. And I'm not calling you Average, Gabe. You go by Gabe or Gabriel?
Either one.
All right, so Gabe, I'm not calling you Average. I'm not calling you Average, but what I'm saying is that you have and Christian will, tell everyone out there who's listening about your past and your accomplishments, but you've done so much in your lifetime already that is, things to write home about, to be proud of, and there are people out there, who wouldn't know you or know like some of the things, and it's kind of hard for me to explain it without going into your past and everything like that, but it's important for people like us to shine the spotlight on people like you so that other people can know what you've accomplished, because you've accomplished so much. And I'm super excited to have you, and I want to just first say thank you for taking the time out to be with us. Yeah, man, Christian, get into it and let the people know what we're about to lay on them here.
All right, so Gabe, just to go a little bit brief into his background. So in 2004, he went to FSU in Tallahassee on a jazz trumpet scholarship. Born and raised in Miami and Hollywood, to backstep a little bit. But then in 2008, he graduated, from FSU with a BA in Mass Media Communications and a minor in business. 2009, first job / internship out of a college was as a sound engineer. Get ready for Outkast. So this was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm gonna kind of chop this up a little bit, but Stankonia Studios.
Yep.
Okay, right. Good. Okay.
Come on, dude. You don't know the Outkast Stankonia CD?
No.
Come on, dude.
I didn't know that the studio. So, same in 2009, 8 months into it with Outkast, his apartment and his home recording studio was burglarized and he lost everything. The sessions at the studio were also getting farther and fewer between, so he had to relocate back to South Florida. So in South Florida, he started as a copywriter / scriptwriter for a mid-size ad agency in Plantation, Florida, was promoted to production coordinator and began producing TV / web commercials. In 2011, so a year after that, he moved to Connecticut and started with ESPN as TV production coordinator of the X Games. He worked with producers, directors, and on-camera talent in coordinating X Game events on-site in San Diego, Los Angeles, Aspen, Barcelona, Brazil, and France. So we're going to go ahead and get into everything else. Just to fast forward to where he's at now, he also started up 2 businesses. And again, we're going to try to get into everything. So just to backtrack all the way to the beginning, because, there's a lot there that we kind of just briefly ran through. Gabriel, before we get into all that, how you feeling tonight?
Wow. Well, first, thank you so much for that introduction. I wasn't prepared for that. It sounds really good when you read it off like that. But thank you. I'm excited. This is actually my first podcast ever. So thank you guys for having me. Very stoked to be here.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being here. And again, just to kind of backtrack a little bit. So I want to go back to 2004 when you went to FSU. So
yeah.
You mentioned that, you had grown up playing, different sports and music instruments before the show. And what about like band or, playing the trumpet or being in that atmosphere? What about that kind of had sparked your passion?
Yeah, it was just fun. Outside of that, school was, a little mundane. I mean, it came easy, but it was still boring, I guess. And excitement, is very equivalent to happiness, and so it was exciting and a great way to connect with your peers. And you're in middle school, and it's it's a lot more fun to be playing instruments with your friends than sitting in a history class.
Exactly.
And when you feel the rhythm and everything comes together, you're hearing harmonies and counter melodies. It's just it hits you. It hits your heart, and it's this whole like spiritual thing, and so it's a whole different experience, and just it's probably one of the best ways to connect with people. I think music.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And just to give you a little bit of my experience with music, so I actually was in band as well. Andrew was also, but I was nowhere near talented. I mean, at least I didn't put the effort in. And so I played the trumpet. I had a trumpet, but I didn't know how to play. So literally I think I got away with 2 live performances before they caught on. But I did it just to get out of class, and we would, they would let us leave early on field trips. But yeah, for 2 live performances, I literally didn't play. I was up on stage, but I just kind of like faked it, and I just kind of like, pretended like I was, blowing into the trumpet and like, moving my fingers, and nothing was happening. So Drew can actually come in on this because Andrew had a lot more success with band. Andrew, what was your experience?
Well, first I want to ask you. So you got a scholarship?
Yeah,
for
FSU. Yeah, it was for the jazz program specifically.
Okay.
I actually started as a commercial music major, which was a mixture of recording studio and classical music and trumpet studies and sight singing and theory. But it was to either to work in the business aspect of music while also being a musician. But the scholarship was through the jazz program, and it was really cool. At that time, I was practicing up to about 4 hours a day, so I was really good. Unfortunately, I don't play as much trumpet anymore. More like try to get into guitar and piano these days. But back then, I actually made the top jazz. Sorry, I have to toot my own horn here, I guess. But the top jazz ensemble big band in Florida State. And that was it meant so much to me because there was, I think, 3 big bands at that time, and there were so many good musicians, even better than me, in the second and third jazz big band. So I was with a bunch of seniors, and I was the only freshman in that band, and it was so intimidating. But that's one of the things is, fear is what we fear is usually what we most need to do. So that was a really good. It was a great experience.
Did you get a full ride?
That coupled with FSU academic scholarship and a Florida academic scholarship did end up paying for everything.
Unreal. So education is a controversial topic on the show. We always bring it up with any guest that comes on. I love to talk about it, and I think it's really cool that you integrated your music with your education. And I was in band all throughout middle school, high school, and college.
Awesome.
Didn't get a scholarship, but I can totally identify and relate with the human connection and passion for the beat and all that stuff.
Right.
And I just want to let all the people know out there who talk shit about the people who are in band.
Get 'em.
This is a perfect example of using a passion to forward yourself and pay for your education. So everyone who wants to make fun of people, about the band geeks and all that stuff, they're getting their education paid for out here, and they're having a great time doing it.
Not to mention that the people that I was in band with are now playing for Al Green, Anthony Hamilton. We're playing for there's Prince. My friend was Prince's saxophone player before he passed away. He was on tour with him. So these guys. I was the underachiever of the group. These guys were amazing, and they were coming from all different public schools throughout Florida. It was by the time you get to college, those are the cool guys. The band nerds are the cool guys. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And,
for sure.
And they were the really cool dudes. I learned a lot from those guys.
So mass media communications minor in business, is that mass media communications, is that relevant with the music program, or was that integrated in there?
The reason I did that is because I was able to intern at a radio station. I took a whole semester off, and I had the internship as part of a radio station. I think at the end of my junior year, and so I started my recording studio. I was at FSU. I did that my sophomore year. So I was really trying to get into more of the production, and I was getting away from jazz and getting more into hip hop and R&B and and more commercial music. Because I love that stuff too. And I still do. So I started a recording studio, and I joined that. I switched my major to that from commercial music over because it had that radio station semester, where I got to learn a lot. I got to meet all those radio station personalities and made some connections. Actually, the connection I made in that internship is what led to Outkast, because a lady who was in sales ended up doing PR for Outkast, and she's the one who put my name in. So it all came from that radio station internship.
Wow. And how was that? I don't want to jump too far forward, but
no, we're going at the perfect pace.
Awesome. Okay. So what was it like first meeting Outkast just from the jump, and then what was it like to work with them?
Yeah, it was great. So this was 2009. 2009 April. And that year, Andre 3000 was in LA doing movies. I'm not sure what movie, but I never met him that year. So Big Boy was the one who I always came across. Now, his cousin is Rick Walk, part of a duo production group called Royal Flush. In Stankonia Studios, there's Studio A and Studio B. So the huge Studio A is where Big Boy and Andre, they record in. They're musicians, which is a band called the Jacks, do all their live performances, all the recording sessions. They all record in there. In Studio B is where I started out, which is where all the producers, the Royal Flush, the other producers that come in, they create all the beats in there. So I was helping mix down all the beats, specifically with Royal Flush and with the other artists that they were collaborating with. And then those beats would go into Studio A, where Big Boy would go and record in. So I want to be fully clear about that first. But so then Big Boy would always come in and out. He did recognize me after a while, but it would be crazy because he would come in at 3 or 4 in the morning with a train of 15 people behind him, and he would go party. I never really got to see the guy work because I was always working with the producers in the studio. And so the other thing was, it was an internship, and so there was that probationary period, and then after that, the producers were going to let me know if it was going to be a paid job up to that point or basically be terminated. So the music industry does have a lot of shady sides to it. And this was one of those things where I believe once my internship period was over, they probably just, and my belief is that they just rolled over another intern in there,
Right.
It was still, an unbelievable experience. I got to meet all those people. I got to meet tons of producers and artists, and, Big Boy called me Buddy. That was his name. I'm sure he called everyone Buddy, but that was his little name for me. So, I'll take that to the bank, and there's a lot of crazy stories mixed in there that we can always get into in the future. I did get to see the Boom Boom Room. Okay. And in the Stankonia Studios, there is the Courvoisier Lounge, which they have huge parties. Courvoisier went in there and did the whole thing with velvet swing ropes and putting beds into the walls and a huge bar. And it was a really fun place to work. It was crazy.
So I want to know, did you touch the beat at all for So Fresh and So Clean, which came out in 2009?
No, I did not. And I think that might have come out before 2009. I guess unless you have the fact check down already, we might need to fact check that. But 2009, he was working on the son, Sir Luscious Left Foot, the son of Chico Dusty. It was a solo album that Big Boy was working on, and so that's what I believe. I guess the beats that I was working on were probably going towards. Big Boy goes through so many tracks before he puts on anything into his album that. And again, my internship ended. I don't know what might have made it on there, but it was more of me working with all the producers and the beats that were going to go in there. I did not work directly with Big Boy during that time.
And what was that like to work with the producers?
It was great. They pushed me to my limit right away. Even the first week, I was learning a whole bunch of new equipment that I hadn't worked for before. I was actually a PC guy, and I knew they were on Mac, so I kind of did a lot of research before I went there. I'm a Mac guy now. But back then I was PC, so I had to do a lot of research beforehand and a lot of learning on the fly. But I knew enough, definitely from my years of sound recording that I was able to carry my own weight. Now, one thing that I would like to mention is when I graduated, I had about $6,000 put away to go to music engineering school. And it was a special 6-month mentorship program where they were going to put me with a producer in a recording studio. And I was going to basically be in it, not in a classroom. But unfortunately, my stepdad got sick. Both of his kidneys failed. My parents were going to lose the house because he wasn't able to basically contribute. And so I gave them that money to basically save their house. And I never actually went to music engineering school. So a few months later, about 6 or 7 months later, I got the opportunity with Outkast. So everything that I brought with me was homeschooled. I never really had that professional training that probably would have helped out. But, again, I knew enough on my own to carry me through it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you if the sound engineering was something that because you did, mass communications and business in college. I was going to ask you, if the sound engineering was self-taught or if you learned that in school. But I guess most of it was self-taught. Right,
exactly. Okay. I mean, I did a couple classes that were part of the program, but it was like basic MIDI, basic sequencing, nothing in depth, nothing like mixing down, nothing about EQ or compression or reverb, any of those, nitty gritty things. But between that and all the other people that were doing sound recording and all the other musicians who were making their own beats and doing all this stuff, I mean, I kind of put it all together,
Yeah, and just to do the fact check, you were right, man. 2000 and 2001 is when Stankonia and the Greatest Hits came out. When I Google searched it real quick, it said 2009. It came up. That was probably when somebody bootlegged it on YouTube and put it up there, So that's awesome.
You gotta be careful.
I remember dancing to that in high school when I graduated.
Me too. Oh, so we're the same age then too.
There we go. Nice, man.
There it is, man. So let's get to the point. It's about 8 months, into this internship, and something happens that I assume you probably looked at the time as like, devastating. And just to clarify, the burglarization, I don't know if I said that right. When they burglarized your house, was that after your internship was up, or was that during the internship?
That was basically what it was during the same time I was still having the internship.
Okay.
But I was already considering moving down because the opportunities were getting farther and fewer between. And so I kind of, picked up on the fact that they were going to, cause again, this is the rap industry. They're not like business professionals where they're like, your 6-month probation is now up and now let's have a meeting and then an exit interview. Now it's not like that. Like they're like, they're not going to tell you anything. They're just going to get some other intern in there and then, see you.
They're just trying to find more free work.
Right. Yeah, they're producers. They're not essentially business professionals that are going to be on a timeline and be professional with you and tell you that your time is up and thank you for your time. It was a great opportunity for me. So, I still took, the good with the bad. But at that time, after I had lost all my equipment, the opportunities in Atlanta weren't as much. I knew I would have a lot more opportunity in South Florida to kind of regain my momentum. Mm-hmm. So I relocated back down, moved in with the folks just to get my footing, got some opportunities with the local ad agency. And I realized that I had so much skill level with, people skills and organization and producing creative content, but being the person in charge of kind of organizing the whole plan from beginning to end. And that kind of opened my eyes to these new opportunities that I had with TV production.
Awesome. And so you did that in 2010, you did that for about a year. And were there any highlights as far as like anything big that happened in that year before I jumped to 2011?
I would say within the first 3 months, they promoted me 3 times with 3 raises. So they kind of realized right away that they had something. And up to then, I was so in love with music, and I still love music, something I'm always going to go back to, that I was blinded really to the business world. I was just so set and determined on making it as a producer.
Right.
So I didn't realize that I kind of had all these other skills that people wanted. And I had the creative side to kind of get along with the creatives. So it was a beautiful blend. I felt empowered. It's part of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you feel like, when you realize that feeling of accomplishment, I have these skills, and it builds that self-esteem, and then you kind of follow that path. And I did, and it did take away from the music, but at the same time, I gained a lot in versatility and diversity and professional skills that I could always lean back on to pay my bills. So that was a great year. And I would say, I made a lot of great friends, and it was just such an eye-opening experience that I would never have applied to ESPN had I not had that opportunity to work at a mid-sized company. Now, if there's anything that someone can take away from this, it's those small companies and mid-sized opportunities when you're young, in your young or early 20s or even late 20s, or any time that you're trying to get new experience in a field, they will give you so much experience, especially if they see the skill, because they need the help. It's hard to find good quality employees in a small to mid-sized company. And so when they see that you will get the opportunity and you make the most of it, you can land a gig with a big Fortune 500 company after that, you know?
So I don't know if Christian told you, but my other business, I have two businesses. My daily business is a juice bar. I own a juice and smoothie bar, and then my passion project, or I call it, is my photo video company. So trying to slowly but surely build both these businesses throughout the next few years, or however long I'm hopefully able to afford this journey of entrepreneurship, I guess you could say.
Right.
But I want to know, so production coordinator, producing, web commercials, directing actors, all that stuff, super intriguing to me. If you could maybe tell me about like a blueprint for a job, or just like something that you remember from that
Sure.
maybe that I could take something from to apply into my business on directing people, or creative ways to advertise or something like that.
Right. So this was with OMG National. They're in Plantation, and we were doing a lot of web commercials. That was kind of the big thing back then, and also some of these were going on TV with the bigger clients, because these guys, they had some really big clients. So basically, they would let us know what they wanted of the commercial. We'd have an initial script writer go ahead and put out something. When I was script writing, I started coming up with these different templates, and so they started, once I became production coordinator, I kind of let them use these templates to kind of help streamline some of these processes, but also customizing it to what they wanted and what key messages they wanted featured. So after that script was edited, we would schedule, they'd also be able to pick out the talent. So there was like a menu on the website where we had all these different talents, all these different looks and ethnicities, and they can have the look that they were going for. We can wear any type of professional dress they wanted, and we had a green screen shot. So it was like these efficient shoots where we'd have the actors come, we'd have them shoot probably 10 to 12 scripts in an hour, or we'd have them there for a couple hours and probably run through 15 scripts. And some they would collaborate on if the client wanted 2 actors, but we would use the same guys. We had George Clooney's double. He was named Bobby Dodd. We had Michelle Russo, Deborah Ball, some actors that they were down here doing everything. Burn Notice, The Glades, all the shows that were shot in South Florida. These actors were on, so they were always local looking for work. And so we would do these really efficient hour to 2 hour shoots. We'd shoot all these scripts. The editors would then go ahead and they would have these 30 to 60 second commercials that they would be editing, and we'd have deadlines, and so the upstairs was that was the sales, and that was the web team and the script writers. The downstairs was the studio with the camera and the shoots and the wardrobe and the editors, and so that was kind of my favorite place to be. That was the creative station down there.
So I did everything under one roof. Exactly,
and they had a lot of talented 20-somethings in there. All the salesmen were the old experienced salesmen. The web team were all 20-somethings. With some 30-year-olds in there probably managing. Even their main business guy was in his late 20s, just a very talented and smart individual they had. So they did find good talent, but these guys were putting job ads out there on Craigslist. They weren't overthinking it. And they were they probably had a 40, 50, 60 person team at the time that I was there. Between sales and web and video editors and script writers and all that. So I was basically the glue. I was the kind of the Swiss Army knife for them, kind of between all departments, making sure the script writers were having, and we were doing high volume. So the script writers were, you could imagine 8 hours, nothing but script writing, 30 to 60 second commercials where there's already a lot of templated scripts there. This was a high volume operation.
Wow.
So my job was critical in making them more profitable. So I just, I started creating Excel grids for the production timelines and started doing a lot of stuff that no one else had done. And to me, it was kind of like, really? No one's done this? This seems like common sense to me. And that's kind of when you're meant to do something. Things that seem natural to you, things that you would naturally do, are things that people would have to learn and practice, and someone would have to tell them. So I kind of knew that was kind of when I was in my own wheelhouse. I had discovered a hidden talent.
Yeah, you kind of seen and felt it come naturally, I should say. And
yeah.
So I guess I'm assuming, just like you said before, you said that for people who are trying to, get to these big peaks or big next level positions in their career or in their space, you said something that was very like big to me. I think a lot of people don't really look at, but it's, if you want to get to a certain level, it would be very smart for you to look for a small to mid-sized level company in the same space so that you can get the experience you need. You'd get the time, you'd get the hours, you'd get everything that you need. And you could fail on a smaller level and then, get that confidence to move to the next position. So that's basically what I see happen in your life and what you went on to do after this. So in 2000, I believe 11, right?
Correct.
2011, you moved to Connecticut and you started with ESPN. So first, I just want to ask, did you think you were going to get the job?
In the very beginning, no. So I gave it my best. It was a phone interview. Then once they told me I was flying in, I was a part of the Final Four. I was like, okay, this is a great opportunity I was going to get, but I still didn't think I was ever going to get it. I always had a plan B ready to go. At that time I was thinking, so I never wanted to get my hopes up until they actually said yes. But it seemed like everyone around me was convinced, and I was 25 at the time, and everything, that was happening was very exciting, and I felt like all the momentum was heading towards yes, but I still didn't want to be, you don't
want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, too self-assured. But then I found out afterward that after they had gone through all the applicants and chose the Final Four, they were actually going to hire all four. So I'd already gotten the job. Okay. So I had no idea. I flown up there, did the whole interview, prepared my butt off. I already had the job. They just wanted to make sure I wasn't a weirdo. They just wanted to meet me in person and make sure, I'll see my body language. Right. And that's actually, that's the first thing they told me in the interview. It was three of them. It was two directors and who was the lady who was going to end up being my direct boss. And they said, yeah, we just wanted to bring you in here. You're part of the Final Four. We just wanted to meet you in person and make sure, see your body language. And I said, man, sometimes when I get nervous, my hands, and I started doing the Ron Burgundy thing where he doesn't know what to do with his hands. And his hands go, sorry, that was Talladega Nights, excuse me. Where his hands
right.
Up his face. Yeah. And so my hands started coming up and I said, no, I don't know what to do with my hands now. And so they all just started cracking up, and from there it was easy,
Yeah, see that vulnerability I think is also can be huge, especially like you said, when you're going for these big companies, they probably are used to people being nervous already. So when you can crack a joke about being nervous or be in that vulnerable space, I'm sure that it's a little bit of an edge breaker or whatever. So I guess through this, because you were there for 2 years, right? And you traveled, like I said before, you went San Diego, LA, Aspen, Barcelona, Brazil, France, and I'm assuming you met a bunch of people that professional athletes and were able to meet a lot of people. Did you have was there anybody that you can remember that was cool, or that you were able to kind of meet and have a good conversation with, or anything that you took away from that?
Let me see. That's a good question, because there was a couple. Now with X Games, these guys aren't in the building because X Games is actually the only sport that ESPN owns. ESPN created that sport. So it's not like the NBA or NFL or MLB where they have to deal with the association and the league and have all this red tape. We can kind of do whatever we want. Mm-hmm. But in that same token, we don't have any X Games talent on site in Bristol, the headquarters, whereas NBA will have Bruce Bowen and all those guys there, and the NFL will have Chris Carter and all those guys on site. So for me, I was working with the producers and directors a lot more. And on site, when I was there for 2 weeks at a time, is when I would really actually get to hang out with the talent, or unless they were visiting ESPN to do, to go on some shows, then I would see them. But there was a cool run-in with Bruce Bowen. That's the reason why he popped in my head, is because his wife, when he played for the Miami Heat, he married a Cuban lady down here. Mm-hmm. And I had a jacket, because obviously it's freezing up there most of the time, and I had a jacket that said Cuba on it. And I had a friend I hooked him up in the interview. He was a sports writer. Mm-hmm. And so we were having lunch in the cafe there, and Bruce Bowen sees my jacket and just starts coming up salsa dancing. Just starts dancing, and he starts speaking Spanish. Mi cubano hermano, what's up, man? My Cuban brother, how you doing? And I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, what's going on, Bruce Bowen? How are you? He's like, yeah, man. my wife's Cuban, man. I know all about the Cuban culture. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm come from Miami. I'm like the biggest Miami Heat fan. I'm like your biggest fan. You know, like I know all about you. Like, and he's like, yeah, man. Like now whenever I see you, bro, you're my brother. And like, so he actually worked with one of the production coordinators for X Games who used to be assigned to NBA, and she actually was one of the ladies who helped train me, and she was in the desk now, or the cubicle next to me. So he would come visit her after that, and then he would see me, and so he would, you know, have some talks with me, and so he was really cool and down to earth. And so he was one of the people that kind of desensitized me almost to a lot of these other sports guys and made me feel like, oh, these are just normal guys, and these are the normal funny guys. It's okay to joke with them.
Right.
So it's not like these guys were giving me advice, but they all made me feel really comfortable around more and more around these big personas.
Right.
I remember my first week, I was lost because this campus is so huge. I got my lunch, and it was like from one building to another, and I couldn't find my office. I run into Scott Van Pelt, and Scott Van Pelt has his hands full of food as well. Like we both had a handful of food. We walk up to these double doors, and he just looks at me. He's like 6'6". This guy's huge. He sticks out his super long skeletal leg, kicks the door open, and goes, "Well, when you've been here a while, you've learned a thing or two." You know, he makes this like really silly laugh. And just like stuff like that really just, you know, it was really cool. It just made you realize that they're just people too. You know, nothing to be nervous about. You're just doing your job. They're trying to do your job, and it's okay to crack jokes and have a good time. You know?
Right.
I fucking love the X Games. I love BMX dudes, skateboard dudes. I just feel like it's just such, you know, it's a hard dream to cash in on, you know, and there's a very few select people in the country who, you know, make a living being professional skateboarders or professional action sports athletes, and I think it's very it's motivating to say the least. But so 2 years that ended, that career or that job position ended in a layoff and a severance, right? So there's similarities in our stories, you know. And tell me how it felt to be laid off from that position, and you know, to get the severance and to start a new chapter of your life at that point. You know, what was going through your mind?
So I'll let you guys know, for real, it was actually a relief. And I know that's shocking because it seemed like it was my dream job. I grew up playing sports. I love basketball. I love football. It was like a dream place to be, but I wasn't fulfilled. When I was on site and I was moving around and I was actually at the event, I mean, we were working 16-hour days. I had a smile on my face. I mean, it was amazing. I was being physical. It was like the mixture of physical and creative work. But when I was in the office back in Bristol, you know, which was most of the time in between these events, it was, you know, unfulfilling office work. Now, of course, there's the excitement of the shows are being taped on campus. I can go check out a show. I can go to the cafe and run into, you know, an athlete or whatever. That's great. But the way you feel going to bed and the way you feel waking up really determines, you know, if what you're doing is fulfilling or not. And I didn't feel fulfilled in those moments. And I was about to head into a long lull of not being on site at these events because I had just finished a long string of international events. So when they laid me off, I was probably looking at 5 or 6 months of being in Bristol, where it's cold, in an office, not on site.
Being a desk jockey.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. I mean, even though it's an exciting atmosphere to be in, really the type of work that you do really can make a huge impact. You know, it's not just that the environment and the atmosphere; it's the actual tasks that you're taking out. So obviously, you know, they work you hard. It's a lot, but it's fun and it's exciting. But when it was a relief. I was already looking to possibly work for myself. I had a realization that if I had worked as hard for ESPN, or if I worked as hard for myself as I had worked for ESPN, that I felt there was no doubt that I would succeed. There was no way I could have worked that hard for myself and not succeed. Right. And that was my mentality back then. And not to jump forward too much, I'll backtrack, but you know, it has transitioned out into where there's not a need to work that much if it is meaningless work. You know, like doing less meaningless work so that you can focus on things of greater importance is not laziness. And that's hard for most people to accept because our culture tends to reward personal sacrifice over personal productivity. But you know, I switched to focus on being productive for less amounts of time versus just being busy, which is kind of how I viewed it then when I was laid off. Like, I have all this time. I'm going to work my butt off all day long, 12 hours, 16 hours a day, and I'm going to become a success, which is great. I mean, that's a Gary Vaynerchuk state of mind. Now I'm more of the Tim Ferriss, train of thought. But I was relieved. It was relieved. I knew I was going to get the severance. The severance was a few months. I knew that was going to give me enough time to at least figure some stuff out. It did take a little more time than that, but I was in Connecticut for a couple months, read a bunch of books, tried to educate myself on entrepreneurship. Once again, relocated back down to South Florida. Once again, I technically had failed a great opportunity with a huge name. So it was, but the thing is, failure is an abstract concept. The real failure really is to accept terminal boredom as your outcome. And so I would rather have failed, relocated back down to South Florida, move in with my parents again at age 27 for the second time in a row, but rather than accept terminal boredom as the tolerable status quo of my life.
Right.
So yeah, it was a scary, exciting time. Scary because I didn't have any safety net after the severance, but exciting because I knew I was going to work my butt off to make something of myself.
I'm telling you right now, I'm already replaying this episode in my in my truck like tomorrow, because I'm just hearing so many things that are valuable. And I don't know if Christian kind of explained to you why we started the podcast, and how much of a role it's played in our lives in the past year. We've been at it for over a full year now. We started in December of 2017. So it's the one thing that we've remained consistent on, and it's the one thing that we're keeping the wheels moving forward. And I feel, and shout out to our counterpart Jesse. He's not here. He's in out of town with his girlfriend right now, but he thinks he has a hard time seeing that this podcast is definitely responsible for a lot of our successes in the past year, 18 months since we started it, and just the mindset and the way that we think. And I'm just like, fast forward, and I'm already replaying this episode back because there's just so much value. And people don't understand that we're doing this. It's costing us money to do it. And we're doing it out of passion. And there's just so much good stuff coming out of it, and I just had to express a little bit of gratitude and just soak it all in real quick.
This is great. I never get to have these conversations with people, and I hope next time you guys have me, I'm gonna try to make the trip to the Lantana. I'm gonna be there in person next time. And the great thing is the consistency you guys have.
Yeah.
You guys are almost at episode 60. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. A lot of people after episode 15, they're done. So
yeah, they've lost interest. Right. We like to have fun with it, or try to. How did you get into the what sparked the thought for starting the tutoring business, which is after you got you moved back home after ESPN, tutoring business and Amazon store. Bring us through the thought process on that and how you came up with those ideas.
The Amazon store was the thought of lightening the load. Taking some weight off. I had accumulated so many things from traveling to being from Connecticut and Atlanta. I had so much things of value, and I'm like, you know what? I moved back down to my parents' house. I don't need to have all these things. Let me start selling. And the Amazon store was great. The product business is something that I do want to get back into, because since then I've only done service businesses, but I really want to get back to product business. But so it really opened my eyes to Amazon right during the time when FBA started getting really big. Even though I wasn't doing the FBA style, I was doing more yard sale flipping. And that was so cool because, it was such a feeling of accomplishment where I would go to a yard sale. I would pay $5 for a box of vinyls, and I'll go to Amazon and realize that they were on there for $20-25 a piece, and I had just purchased like 30 vinyls. So I could flip $1,000, or based on I would spend $20-50 on a Saturday morning, and by the time I was done posting them on Amazon and checking everything and all that stuff, I posted $2,000-3,000 on Amazon worth of stuff. So it was very exciting time. I was realizing all these opportunities I had in front of me while trying to figure it out, and not really kind of like sound engineering, not really having professional training, but still just using my instincts and my guts and asking people and not be afraid to say I don't know, and just kind of figuring it out. At the same time, I said, what value do I have? I want to start my own business. What value can I have? My uncle Albert was, I love him to death. He was always a big business guy. Passed away a couple years ago, but always gave me a bunch of advice. And he said, do what you know. That way, if you are going to hire other people, if they flake out for any reason, something happens, you can cover your clients. So I said, well, let me go back to my roots, my very, very roots. I was a good student, school came easily, A, B student, I'm a musician, I played a lot of sports. So I started putting Craigslist ads out, and those back then were free. Now I think they're like $5 a pop. So I was putting tons of Craigslist ads out for everything, every sport that I knew and every instrument that I knew for beginner lessons. And then the stuff that I knew really well for intermediate or advanced lessons. Wow. Math, reading, all this stuff. So right away, I put all these lines out and started getting calls for all these different things. So one day I was teaching volleyball, the next day I was teaching trumpet, the next day piano or math, and it was a really exciting time. Now, in the beginning, it was good because I got a lot of sales right away and I was able to pay my bills right away. But to scale a company like that, you don't want to set up a company like that with so many different subjects. Right. You really want to focus on a niche subject. If I were to do it over, I'd probably just do a math-based tutoring company, and then maybe aside from that, maybe a separate piano and guitar. Because if you think about it, I'm in Broward County, then we have Dade and we have West Palm Beach. So if I did math, I'd have to find 3 tutors, and then if they weren't available all the time, to cover all the different availabilities for 3 counties. So the logistics on just one subject alone became difficult. Now, multiply that times all the academic subjects, every single music instrument, every single sport, every single computer program. We taught dance, every single style of dance, acting, Photoshop, everything you can think of. And then we started doing businesses. So we'd go into business and teach Excel or teach Photoshop. And then I started getting big deals off of that. So it was a lot of coordination. So I was still working the same hours as ESPN, working my butt off, using my people skills, my coordinating skills, and just figuring it out. And since then, I've learned enough to know how to scale and automate and kind of scale back on the workload. But it was what I knew at the time, and that's how I went from there.
Dude, that's insane. And I just want to ask real quick and kind of get into the idea. So for anyone that's listening that has like anything that they want to do, whatever the case might be, like literally what you just said is, you make it sound so easy. I know that a lot of work went into it, but it really is like at a very fundamental level, it really is that easy. So like you said, you knew that you had some skills, you knew that you had some very not basic, but you had some fundamental skills. Yeah. And so you went instead of, kind of freaking out, you went to the basics. You created, I'm assuming you sat down, you created like a, structure for your tutoring. Like, so today, Monday is going to be volleyball, and we're going to study, we're going to go over this, and this for this amount of time. Right. Right. So for anyone who, like I said, anyone listening who wants to do anything, literally anything, that's literally what you have to do. Like, you literally sit down, you figure out, okay, I want to get to X. Now look backwards and what do I need to do to get to that? Okay, I need to do this. I need to set up a game plan. I need to set up a business plan. I need to, reach out to this person, get resources. So your story for me is like, it's just, it just makes it so much easier for me to, like, for myself to know that whatever I want to do, and like I am, kind of doing some things on my own as well, that it really just boils down to that mentality of like you said, bootstrapping, just literally figuring out what the next or what the first step is, and then kind of just taking it from there. So your mentality at that point, did it come difficult, or was it literally that easy to where you were just like, okay, what do I need to do next?
Yeah. At that point, my mentality was just to work for myself. Okay. Right. Since then it's evolved to having others work for me. So then I ended up I started with people that I knew that had skills, and then from there I posted job ads that are free. There's a lot of free resources out there for anyone who wants to start a business, and a small business, a lot of free resources. So I hired, just started contracting tutors. I let them know I could, people that already had part-time jobs but wanted extra income, people who could do it on the weekends, people who could do it after their work. At all times, people just wanted the extra income, which is great for me because I couldn't offer anyone a full-time setup. So those are the people I went after. I couldn't hire anyone who needed full-time, but that's okay. There are people for any situation that you need. There are people that can match your needs. Yeah. So I ended up covering people. I went on a hiring spree every single day. Just for a long period of time, was hiring. And then after that, the hiring was less, and I just filled in the gaps after that. But it was a logistical, I wouldn't say nightmare, but a logistical challenge because I would try to cover all 3 counties. The Craigslist ads were free, so I was definitely advertising in all 3 counties. And I started doing Skype interviews. I made all my files electronic, so I didn't have to meet anyone in person. So that was one of the first things I did to kind of take the load off. But again, I mean, even since then, where I evolved from, I just want to work for myself. I work for ESPN. I want to work for myself. That was the first step. The second step was, okay, now I want others to work for me because I can only be in so many places at once. But if I hire all these other people, and I can do 100 lessons at once. Yeah. So that was the second evolution. Then the third evolution was, instead of being the boss, instead of the employee, that was, I thought that that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be the boss, not the employee. But now I don't want to, the goal is to be neither the boss nor the employee, but to be the owner.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am now. So it's evolved in the last 4 years. But at that time, that mentality served me well,
So you hired a bunch of people and then you designed an app.
Yeah. So
are you freaking kidding me, dude? What have you not done?
It sounds. I mean, I'm good at. I have a skill with marketing. We make things sound a lot more impressive than they are. But so I can make things sound easy and good. But here's the thing. I just Googled it and I realized that the website was already made. I had drawn something out. I went to a buddy of mine who was a website developer. He's a very artistic guy. So we came up with the logo. We went back and forth. I definitely invested some decent money in that logo, but it ended up being worth it. That was one of the biggest pulls to my website is just the whole marketing, the color scheme, everything just looks so family friendly. So I knew that was going to be the key in trust, in getting people's trust is, how they feel when they first land on your site. So that was number one. Once I took care of the website, I made sure it was mobile friendly. So make sure your website designer uses responsive design with WordPress. So when people go on, use their phone, it'll look like an app. And it'll form your website to their phone.
That's like 80% of traffic nowadays anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's the biggest thing. And so all I did was Google, how to create an app. And the app basically just takes you it's an icon that takes you to the site. And the site is mobile friendly. So when you click the app, you get all the features of the website. And everything's there set up as an app. But technically, all I did was create an icon, right? So, but to people, they download the app. You go to the Play Store, you download the app, and it's an app, right? So, again, I created an app. Yeah, sure. I'm a software developer. Yeah.
Thanks for the honesty. So, tell me about, so you're kind of coasting with the tutoring business. This was probably 2017-ish. Closed the Amazon store to focus on the tutoring business.
Right.
Now, in 2018, this is the first time I'm seeing this word mentor is in 2018. Extremely important part of, I feel like, any entrepreneur's process. Tell me about the relationship with your mentor. Did you have the relationship with him before this, or is this a newfound relationship? And how did you go about finding him? Because I need one.
No, this was in May 2018. So I was looking for alternative income streams, and I was looking up everything from domain flipping to Amazon FBA to whatever. Because my thing is, if you have a passion and you can monetize that passion, and if you're a baker and you just want to bake all day and listen to music and run your business and check people out, and you want to run and control, that's great. But if your income stream is different than your passion, whereas for me, I'm trying to create this cleaning business income stream automated. That way I can actually focus on my passions, which is more music. That's something I'm not trying to monetize. I'm really just trying to do as a passion, focusing on my health, focusing on family and friends, focusing on philanthropy, focusing on all these fulfilling things. So that's the style of business that I'm trying to do. So that was my goal. How can I automate a business and focus and get back to my passions? Because right now I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. So I started looking at all these different things. I found these guys, and this new income stream, which everyone's doing, is they're making video tutorials. They're making a video course, and they're selling video course, and they're putting up free YouTube videos that samples their video course, and they're trying to do the 1,000 fan rule, which you have 1,000 fans, you can make a living doing anything you want. If you love Sesame Street, you can talk about Sesame Street and have those 1,000 fans pay your $20 a month fee or $30 a month a year fee and live off those fans, right? So basically, a lot of these guys I found a guy who was doing YouTube video tutorials for his Amazon FBA business. And there's a lot of people who are trying to sell you their video tutorial for $500 to $1,000 to teach you how to create your own Amazon store and buy wholesale from China and have it shipped directly to Amazon and have it be this easy breezy business. So I found this guy Amar who I liked, and he was reviewing everybody else's video course. So to me, I'm like, wow, this guy is going out there and he's destroying all the other people's courses. He must know what he's talking about. But one video stuck out to me that he made, and out of all the hundreds of videos that he made one video about his cleaning business and about how his cleaning business took less time than all of his other income streams. The guy has like 4 or 5 different income streams. He's in his late 20s. So sorry, I mean, I've gone through this already. I don't mean to make anyone feel bad here. He's a millionaire. He became a millionaire at like 26. So he's like one of these guys that, you know, is going to make you feel terrible about yourself. But the thing is, don't, because everyone has their own path, right?
Right.
So I have a guy who's years younger than me mentoring me, which I don't care about, right? Like, I just want the goal. I'm trying to achieve the goal here. And so I speak with him, and he says that he might make a video course on his cleaning business, but he wants to basically help a couple people out first, see if he can help them start their cleaning businesses first. And if they do, they can vouch for him and basically be a spokesperson for his video tutorial for his cleaning business. So this is another income stream this guy's trying to create. So I said, hey, I will happily be your guinea pig, and I'll even pay you up front for your time to mentor me and to go through your steps. So I really liked what he was talking about, the cleaning business. It was a service business like my tutoring business. A lot of the processes were going to be the same as my tutoring business. And even though I was dead set on starting a product business, it really resonated me what he was saying about his cleaning business and the way it was ran and the effects it had on him. So I fell in love with that idea. He mentored me. I put the money in to start the business. You know, it really is not that much to start a business or to run a business. The most expensive cost is the Google AdWords. And so I learned about Google AdWords. It's still my most expensive item to run this business. But the encouraging thing is, if you don't have a lot of money and you don't have money for AdWords, the actual setup of the business is very cost effective. The actual monthly bills and maintenance of the business is actually very cost effective. So you could guerrilla market and get out there with business cards and shake people's hands, and you could probably guarantee yourself a sale a day doing that, which is really nice if you're willing to put in the sweat equity. But for me, I had a little bit of money saved away. I do have some credit cards that I'm using for AdWords, but I do have my formula set that I know I'm going to be paying that off eventually. So I'm definitely bootstrapping. He was a big mentor. I still talk to him every now and then. That first month in June, we were talking every single day, and I was throwing a bunch of questions at him every single day. He was very accommodating, and so he made the biggest difference. I mean, he taught me how to scale, how to automate. He kind of changed my whole mindset around. But it was also connecting with what I had read with the 4-hour work week. So if I could take a quick step back, that's what really was the first step to opening my eyes to kind of, I don't need to be working 40, 60, 80 hours a week. I could really just make some key changes, efficient changes, and work 10 hours a week and still be making the same or make more. So then when Amar told me about that, it really resonated with me about the cleaning business. So fast forward a month, I got my cleaning business up, starting to make sales. I have some cleaning ladies. And now about 6-7 months later, I touch base with them every few weeks, just to give them a progress update.
Wow. So right now where you're at with the cleaning business, you are almost not there, essentially.
Sorry, you said almost not there?
Yeah, like as far as like how you were saying before, not being the boss or the employee, you're kind of just the owner stepping back from it.
Correct. Yeah. And so I hired an operations manager this year, at the end of last year. But I hired a new one, I think a couple weeks ago. So I've been training her the last couple weeks. It was a buddy who I started with a couple months ago he has his own businesses, and he did a great job, and him and I figured out how to basically make it work well with the operations manager. But it helped him out. Basically what I'm trying to do is take out the time-consuming tasks out of my day to help me focus on more of the important, higher concept, referral programs, partnerships with other companies, those type of things. I'm not trying to handle the phone calls, explaining, every single item that we clean, and so basically that I've been able to delegate. And the great thing is because when people are just taking phone calls, it's not that much work. So what I've done is I've targeted, similar to the part-time tutors, I've targeted people for this operations manager position who are already at home, already have income coming in, do not need a full-time income, but have the freedom and availability to answer the phone whenever it rings. So I can get away with paying my operations manager $500 a month because they're only working 1 or 2 hours a day for me.
Right.
Because there's only a handful of phone calls that come in because my website makes everything automated. People get the Google AdWords, they click on it, it takes them to the website, they book it, they can fill out the form in 60 seconds, they get an instant quote, they get the email directly sent to them. There's nothing really that I have to do. So what I was able to do was take all those tasks off my plate by hiring a part-time operations manager that's basically on call, make it affordable for me to afford them. And as the business grows, I've already gave them a growth chart of their raises and how their income is going to grow. And they're going to eventually be full-time. And with each raise that they're going to get as the company grows, I will hand off a couple more responsibilities that I have. Right. Updating the schedule, things like that I'm not trying to bombard her with right now, right, but that I will slowly but surely hand off as time goes.
And so it'll essentially run itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now is get it to run itself. Because even if I'm breaking even right now, I'm profiting a little bit, but to play it safe, I would say I'm breaking even. I'm getting to the point now where I'm actually going to start profiting, which is nice. And going forward, I'm going to be profiting, which is very nice. So the business is running itself, and that's my goal. If it's running itself and I'm breaking even, then it's only going to grow from here. For me, managing a cleaning business, operating a cleaning business is not my passion. That's not what's going to fulfill me at the end of the day. And I think that's kind of what we're all trying to chase is that self-actualization, right? We're all trying to save that fulfillment. So yeah, so I don't have any shame in saying that I'm just trying. I own the trains, but I'm making sure someone else ensures they run on time.
Right. Right. And you want to make sure that the bills are getting paid, and you have something that, like you said, it's passive income. You literally. I mean, you had to go through the time and effort to put it together, but it's running itself, and you come in whenever you have to, but it's bringing you passive income every single month without you actually having to be there or put in more time from here. Right. So I've heard of that, obviously, since we've been doing the podcast and listening to podcasts and stuff like that. I've heard of things like that. I just never really put an exact, business idea or, never really looked at it at what, how easy it could be. And so I just have also one question as far as the finding the workers to essentially work part-time. So do you look up on LinkedIn, or how do you find these people?
So, there's two different for the housekeepers. There's actual programs that I've paid an annual membership to to hire housekeepers specifically. Okay. It's called housekeeper.com. I think it's $139 a year. Up front might seem like a lot, but when you think about the fact that you want to grow a cleaning business and you're going to have access to hundreds and hundreds of cleaners in any specific city, and you can talk to them right there and call them right there. You could always do LinkedIn or Craigslist, but that's a specific service for mine. So that's great. And it saves a lot of time of going through the other industries on something like LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is an option I've always thought of, and I could always use in the future. I mean, it's a very good option, but housekeeper.com for me has worked. Craigslist has also worked. I'm always a big fan of adding Craigslist just for supplemental income or supplemental, contacts that I'm trying to reach out to. Craigslist is always a good option to help with that. Now for the operations manager, because it's a small company, I'm going with people that I know and that I trust. I'm not going with any outside hires. Now people have personal thoughts about that, and I completely understand that, but that's why you really have to, when you're hiring someone that even someone that you don't know, the communication, you almost have to over communicate with all your needs, all your expectations, how, and their work ethic and my work ethic and how I can, all that stuff. So with my friend who did it for the first couple months, he was great. But what ended up happening was he got some opportunity he was not expecting to receive, and it was so good that he had to take it. So I found someone else, luckily, someone I've known for a very long time, an at-home mother who has a lot of customer service experience, looking to get back into the workforce. Took more energy to train than Anthony because he has a lot of business experience, but still well worth it because I know I can depend on her. I know I can trust her. I know she's professional. I know she has my best interest at heart. Right. And so far, she has been very dependable, very professional with the cleaners and the clients. And really what it is her and I just needing, doing more role playing, doing more phone calls where I throw common client questions at her. Okay. I give her different quotes to give at me and different discounts. And what if I give you this complaint? What if I throw this at you? So we do a lot of role playing, and that has helped a lot. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's like, again, just looking back, as far as your history with not only working, but just your mindset, it really just is like a testament to how you think about life in general. And the fact that, when you lost these opportunities, it's not lost, but, Outkast and ESPN, when they fell through, it wasn't like this devastating hit or blow to your ego like some people might have taken it. It was basically like, okay, well, this happened now. What's next? What can I do to get myself to where I'm trying to get to? And right. So that's really the very basic foundation as far as like the podcast and like what I'm trying to get from it, which is to talk to people like yourself, get some insight, and figure out how I can apply it to my life. And that's why, we're trying to put it out there for everyone so that anyone listening can do the exact same thing. So yeah, man, like I said, your story is like a testament to that mindset and to the fact that if you want anything, you literally just have to figure out the next step.
That's it. One step at a time.
So leave the listeners and everyone who's checking out the show out there, your top, maybe, I don't want to say piece of advice or tip, but just a little nugget of knowledge that you can give to someone who might be in a predicament. Maybe they're getting laid off, maybe they're in a transition, maybe they're in a position in their education where they don't know what they want to do. Give the people something to think about, something, one thing to leave them with.
I would say, since you mentioned success, it kind of triggers something, that a person's success, I would say, in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations that they are willing to have. So it kind of goes along with, what we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do, right? For me right now, it's getting out of the shadow of Google AdWords and getting out and shaking hands and making partnerships with title companies and realtors and creating referral programs, which is stuff I'm trying to do. Because it really is easy when you get into automation to hide behind your computer. Right. So what I would say is the thing that's probably holding you back that you're scared to do is probably what you need to just jump in and start doing. This sounds like oversimplification, but Google is your friend. Yeah. I learned how to create that app just by Googling it, and now I can kind of basically say I created a little app there, without coding, but I did it, it's really about what is your goal. Again, I would say, if you're passionate about a certain skill that you have and you can make a business out of that because it's something that you physically want to be doing, you need to stop and just chase that right there. If you're not sure, if you have passions but you don't know how to monetize it, then I would start researching income streams that are streamlined or streamable and automate, able to be automated, such as Amazon FBA, different service businesses. Cleaning is just one. There's window, there's pressure washing, there's landscaping. There's all these service businesses that you could apply my business model to. And not only can you expand, go to any location and offer that service, but you can change your service and create 7 or 8 different businesses of different services by using the same exact business model. So the answers are definitely out there. Google, YouTube, questions. Like you said earlier, it's about I might have heard this in episode 58, but it's about making the most of every single day, like really becoming a champion of today, and not pushing anything off, or just making the most you can today, and really feeling that hunger inside of you. If you have that blood boiling and you're hungry, focus on the goal. Keep your mind on the goal. My goal right now is not that I'm working a lot and breaking even on my cleaning business. It's the goal of I'm setting up an automated business that it's going to continue scaling, continue growing. I'm going to be able to be at any geographical location at any time and not have that worry in the back of my head of having my bills paid. I'm going to be able to focus on my passions, but I'm not there right now. I'm in the process of getting there, so I could easily be deterred on any day. So it's really about keeping that positive head, focusing on your goal, letting that goal excite you and letting it fuel you. If I could say one more thing, so I don't mean to keep blabbering here, but if the potential payoff is mediocre or average, so is your effort. So aim big. So 99% of the people in the world are convinced that they're incapable of achieving great things. So they aim for the mediocrity. But that's why the level of competition is so fierce for realistic goals and common jobs, because paradoxically, it takes the most time, it's the most time consuming and energy consuming to chase the most common and realistic goals. So aim big, go for something crazy that no one else is doing. You won't have competition to do it.
That's right, man. We always say there's no growth in the comfort zone.
Ooh.
Talk
about it.
Got to get outside of your comfort zone if you want to grow. Wow, amazing. So much value in there. I want to, again, thank you for taking the time to speak with us in this episode. And how can, you spoke about your business model and, how people can apply that into their life. If they want to reach out to you or, message you about that business model or get some more information, how can they do that?
Yeah, certainly. On Instagram, I am Gabe Libera, at Gabe Libera. Facebook, also Gabe Libera. Email, gabriel.dellalibera@gmail.com. I'll spell that out really quick. GABRIEL.DELLALIBERA@gmail.com. But you can just reach me on Instagram or Facebook. You can also check out the Blue Chip Maids Facebook page and reach out to us there. Or hit up Christian. He has my number directly.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll put your Instagram in the description of the show for everyone if they want to reach out. I actually personally know one person that I want to connect you with who started a cleaning business, who is looking to scale, and I feel like it would be a perfect match. I'm very super excited to actually link you guys up, and I'll message you on the side after this. But yeah, that's it. We're going to wrap it up there. We thank everyone for listening and tuning into the show again. Leave us a rating on iTunes. Subscribe to the show. We release episodes every Sunday at 6 o'clock on the dot. We don't miss it. So, get your motivation in on Sunday night, Monday morning, Tuesday afternoon, whenever you need to do it. We're here for you. Christian, you got anything else?
That's it. Hey, thank you again, Gabe. We'll be in touch soon. And thank you guys for listening.
Oh, thank you guys. Ryan, Christian, Andrew. That was fun. Let's do it again.